Okay, I'll admit it was foolish of me to think I'd even get a second to go out and run some errands with Gamescom starting. So let's dig into this trailer, shall we? First off, obviously, is the celebrity star who features prominently in the trailer. It's Lashana Lynch, star of No Time to Die, The Woman King, and soon-to-be Oscar nominee for her portrayal of Rita Marley in One Love, the Bob Marley biopic. She'll be playing Young, one of the pilots of the spaceship Cassiopeia, which we first learned about in the teaser video at the end of The Devil in Me. Speaking of, I know that there's no strict definition for any of these things, but it's weird to call this an announced trailer when the game was already announced 2 years ago. But hey, what else were they going to call it? Now let's dig into the trailer. We start with Young's speech about her passion for getting into space. Notably in the background is a logo with the name Corinth beneath it. Corinth is the private spaceflight organization first introduced on the cover of Future Vision magazine, visible on Dumet's desk in the control room of his murder hotel. They're presumably some of the beneficiaries of the futuristic alien technology that Aegis salvaged from under the Zagros Mountains in the aftermath of House of Ashes. Apparently, Corinth has survived into the future and is important enough to be trusted with a mission to ensure humanity's future, which you'd think would be like a government thing? The speech turns out to be playing on a damaged, blood-splattered screen, letting us know that everything has gone wrong. We cut to Young fleeing down a hallway in what's likely the crashed spaceship Cassiopeia. The halls are completely covered in purple goop, and there seems to be a windstorm raging outside. This tracks with what we've seen of the planet in the teaser, dense purple clouds completely obscuring the surface. Really does not seem like a great place to be setting up a civilization. Is weather why the bat monsters abandoned it? While Young runs, her pursuer walks calmly down the hallway while a zombie freaks out in the background. This looks to be the Taylor model, and if the patch on her uniform's arm is to be believed, she'll turn out to be a French astronaut. Is this Sims? Who can say? We get a better look at the pursuer's spacesuit here. We can see that it's a more detailed version of the one we saw in The Devil in Me 13th Premonition. You can see the light bars on the stomach and chest, which are illuminated in the picture, but turned off here. Also, that shock stick reminds me a lot of the weapons from The Persistence, a game I think everyone needs to play in VR. The flat version is kinda meh, but in VR it's a survival horror treat. Young gets to the end of the hallway and finds there's nowhere left to run, so she shuts the door. I like the detail of the fallen panels and pipes in the room, reminding us that the Cassiopeia's crash really did a number on it. Here's the back of the spacesuit showing off what's probably the life support system. That's right, there's a rebreather on it. Does that make this a Man of Medan reference? No, of course not, but we like to reach sometimes. Now we get the big reveal. The pursuer is a copy of Young, and the game is going to be themed around The Thing, as it absolutely should be. Does that effectively make this Among Us story mode? I mean, I'm not going to say no. Look at the detail on that uniform, the Corinth logo, UK arm patch, this mysterious arm patch that we can't see the details of. You can even see life support system written on it. It looks fantastic. As is this monster face ripple. I wonder how long the monsters can keep up appearances. As it approaches Young and the door closes, the goop starts to reveal itself on its shoulder and head. Unlike the Thing, which has to wear clothes, it seems like the 80/20 monster can copy the look of technology in clothes as well, or at least a facade of them. Is that why her LEDs are off? Can that be a way to let you know who's a monster and who isn't? Here's another monster in mid-transformation. I don't actually recognize this model, although that could just be, the facial deformation. If you recognize him, be sure to let me know. Here's a stealth sequence with Young ducking behind a crate while someone looks for her with a flashlight. Then the Taylor Beast charges. Here's a much better look at her France arm badge. And then there's a horrible mold monster, based on another model I didn't recognize. Is that old Linda from Frank Stone? And this pose kind of recalls the end of The Thing, so there you go. Finally, we've got the fantastic key art with a zombie, a ruined spaceship, and mold tendrils everywhere. Also, that unlocked door in the background seems to be the same one from the sneaking scene we saw. This is one hell of a teaser. I'd have liked a little more gameplay, of course, since they're advertising all these new features, but the mood is peerless. Over at the Steam page, we've got some big news. First off, Supermassive is now publishing the Dark Pictures games, which means, tragically, we might not be getting a physical release. This isn't official news, of course, but if they do print discs, it would be the first time they've done it as a publisher. There's also some backstory. Apparently the Earth is dying, and moving to a monster planet is humanity's only chance. So, maybe it doesn't have a chance. Also, we've got confirmation that this is going to be their most action-packed adventure game, as it promises real-time threats. The implication is that we don't just have QTEs. There might be chances to die during exploration, and even light combat of some kind, if we're going to be using makeshift weapons. Again, we'll need to see this in action, but with the developers promising more of a survival horror feel, I'm wondering if they're going to fully embrace death rewinds and continues. Right now, the language of supermassive gameplay is that all decisions and consequences are final, and you'll have to restart the game if you don't like an outcome. Or, go to level select menu. The point is, a death that happens because you got spotted during a stealth sequence is very different to a player of a supermassive game than a death that comes because you failed a QTE. The first might be thought of as something that should be less permanent than the second. But maybe they're going all the way with it and are going to say, if you're bad at the game, you're getting a bad ending. I gotta say, it'd be a daring move. The final threat, that saving the crew means putting the Earth at risk, is a nice touch, because of course, that's what the titular Directive 8020 is all about, not bringing alien bacteria back to Earth or contaminating other places with Earth's bacteria. Can the crew risk returning to Earth when they might be bringing this creature back with them? I'm gonna let McCready take this one.
Maybe we should.
The store pages have some amazing art on display. The goop-covered ship, mysterious figures standing in spotlights. The vibes here are just off the charts. Seriously though, while you're waiting, you really should play the Persistence. People have questioned the online co-op having 2 to 5 players, which suggests the possibility of a shared story in which up to 5 people are playing at once. This seems unlikely to me, unless they've completely redesigned how the story will play out from the ground up. I think it's way more likely that we're talking about there being 5 playable characters in the main game, and the 2 to 5 person multiplayer is just hot seat gaming, including an online version of it, perhaps even a Wolfpack style voting system where one person moves the character around and everyone votes on decision and dialogue points. I mean, according to the PlayStation page for The Quarry, it supports up to 8 players for online co-op. We're gonna need some more info to be sure. Here's the big question I'm left with. When exactly is the crash that lands the Cassiopeia on the planet going to take place? Will it happen during the main game, or is it a situation where the prologue features everything going wrong, and the other characters are in bat-style suspended animation, and then they wake up post-crash already on the planet when the main game starts? I mean, that feels like it could be a possibility. So, that's what I noticed about the footage we've seen so far. Hopefully we'll get more news as journalists and content creators who actually went to Gamescom get to talk to the good people at SMG. If so, we'll be back to exploit their work for more analysis and theory videos. Maybe I'll even explain why I think the game is going to be set in 2094. Oh, and congrats to Supermassive PR team for posting this image, which crops the Directive 8020 title just right so that it says die. For now though, I've been the Hidden Object Guru. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time and you'd like to see more, there's buttons coming up to help with that. Questions, comments, your own theories about what's going on with the Cassiopeia, go in the comments section below the video. Play my game, Clown in the Woods, as we wait for Frank Stone and 8020. I'll see you back here for more 8020 news as Gamescom continues, but until then I'll say that's right, au revoir.